President Joe Biden and First Lady Jill Biden attended a wreath-laying ceremony at the Flight 93 Memorial in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, their second stop Saturday as the country marks the 20th anniversary of the 9/11 terror attacks. Earlier, the Bidens joined the Clintons and the Obamas at the New York City ceremony at Ground Zero.At the Western Pennsylvania site. Vice President Kamala Harris had called for a United America Saturday as she joined former President George W. Bush at the 9/11 memorial ceremony in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, to mark the 20th anniversary of the terror attacks. The vice president urged Americans to remember the unity that came out of the tragedy 2 decades ago, saying it is essential to our shared prosperity, our national security, and to our standing in the world. On the days that followed September 11, 2001, we were all reminded that unity is possible in America. We were reminded, too, that unity is imperative in America. It is essential to our shared prosperity, our national security, and to our standing in the world, Harris said. Harris, a Democrat, followed Bush, a Republican, who used his speech to condemn violent extremists abroad and violent extremists at home, calling them children of the same foul spirit, an apparent reference to both the 9/11 hijackers and the January 6 Capitol insurrectionists. The Bidens and Harris will lay a wreath at the Pentagon as well. Queen Elizabeth sent a heartfelt message to Biden as the U.S. marked the anniversary of the tragedy. As we mark the 20th anniversary of the terrible attacks on September 11, 2001, my thoughts and prayers, and those of my family and the entire nation, remain with the victims, survivors and families affected, as well as the first responders and rescue workers called to duty, the Queen said. My visit to the site of the World Trade Center in 2010 is held fast in my memory, she added. The Bidens filed into the Manhattan event with former President Barack Obama and Bill Clinton and former First Ladies Michelle Obama and ex-Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. Biden didn't speak at the ceremony in New York, as he chose to release a video Friday sharing his reflections instead. Members of Congress, including House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and New York Sen. Kirsten Gillibrand, also attended the New York memorial service. Former President Donald Trump, a native New Yorker, said on Fox News on Friday that he will travel to Ground Zero to mark the attack's 20th anniversary, but didn't specify timing. He didn't run into Biden on Saturday. Trump's ex-attorney, former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani, who was mayor during the attacks, attended the Ground Zero ceremony. Giuliani was among the high-profile Trump allies who pushed the so-called big lie, that Biden wasn't the legitimate winner of the 2020 election. Congratulations to Rudy Giuliani, for the 20th time, the greatest mayor in the history of New York City, for having shown such leadership and doing such an incredible job during and after the attack on our nation. The ex-president said. Trump sent out additional statements critical of Biden's Afghanistan pull-out throughout the somber day. Biden avoided some additional awkwardness at Saturday's ceremony by signing an executive order that ordered a review of the classified documents related to the attack, something 9/11 families, first responders and survivors have demanded. The president had been told by nearly 1,800 Americans impacted by the terror attacks last month not to come to any of the 20th anniversary events unless he declassified documents that potentially show Saudi government links to the September 11, 2001 hijackers. Bush, who rarely makes public appearances, used his address domestic terrorism. He also told veterans and service members that their sacrifices in the war on terror weren't for nothing. And the former leader pushed the nation to display the same sort of unity that was present in the days following the September 11, 2001 attacks. Many Americans struggle to understand why an enemy would hate us with such zeal, Bush said. The security measure incorporated into our lives are both sources of comfort and reminders of our vulnerability. And we have seen growing evidence that the dangers to our country can come not only across borders but from violence that gathers within. The former Republican president noted that there is little cultural overlap between violent extremists abroad and violent extremists at home except for their disregard of human life. In their determination to defile national symbols they are children of the same foul spirit and it is our continuing duty to confront them, Bush said, an apparent reference to both the 9/11 hijackers and the January 6 Capitol insurrectionists. Bush also aimed to assuage concerns voiced by veterans and service members that their time in Afghanistan was all for naught, with the Taliban quickly taking over the country ahead of President Joe Biden's August 31 messy pullout. One thing is certain, we owe an assurance to all who have fought our nation's most recent battles, Bush said. Let me speak directly to veterans and people in uniform. You have shielded your fellow citizens from danger, you have defended the beliefs of your country and advanced the rights of the downtrodden. You have been the face of hope and mercy in dark places, you have been a force of good in the world, said the former commander-in-chief. Nothing that has followed, nothing, can tarnish your honor or diminish your accomplishments, Bush stated. To you and to the honor of dead, our country is forever grateful. Bush recalled that in the weeks following the attacks, I was proud to lead an amazing, resilient, united people. When it comes to the unity of America, those days seem distant from our own, he said. Malign force seems at work in our common life, that turns every disagreement into an argument and every argument into a clash of cultures. So much of our politics has become a naked appeal to anger, fear and resentment, he continued, that leaves us worried about our nation and our future together. Bush said that he had come to Pennsylvania without explanations or solutions. I can only tell you what I've seen. On America's day of trial and grief I saw millions of people instinctively grab for a neighbor's hand and rally to the cause of one another. That is the America I know, Bush said to Applause. At a time when religious bigotry might have flowed freely, I saw Americans reject prejudice and embrace people of Muslim faith. That is the nation I know, he said. At a time when nativism could have stirred hatred and violence against people perceived as outsiders, I saw Americans reaffirm their welcome to immigrants and refugees. That is the nation I know, Bush continued. Bush also defended millennials, who he said were described as individualistic and decadent, saying they embraced an ethic of service and selfless action. This is not mere nostalgia, it is the truest version of ourselves, he said. It is what we have been, and what we can be again. Saturday's ceremony in New York included a playing of the national anthem and bells chiming for when each of the 4 planes crashed into the World Trade Center, the Pentagon and finally a field in Somerset County, Pennsylvania, sparing either the White House or the U.S. Capitol. Family members read the names of the deceased, giving tributes to husbands, wives, uncles, sisters, brothers and children who were among the 2,977 killed. Bruce Springsteen played I'll See You in My Dreams after a bell chimed at 9:03 a.m., marking when Flight 175 hit the Second World Trade Center tower. General Mark Milley, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, and Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin spoke at the Pentagon.